Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel. You'll be pleased to know that I had a really good sleep last night. I got up early and then I went back and had another sleep. So I'm feeling a lot better. So I thought I'll do a get ready with me, and also I have some news. Some good news and some bad news. So just hold on a second. Here is the news. Okay, I'm going to start with the bad news. Okay, I know I said to you all, I promised you all that I would do a review it Tuesday every week, but I'm not going to be able to upload a video on Tuesday. Do you want the good news now? The reason that I'm not going to be able to upload a video on Tuesday is because on Tuesday evening I have been invited to a VIP event at Charlotte Tilbury, and in that VIP event they are going to be doing a masterclass showing all her new complexion products. That's right, her concealer, her powder, her new foundation shade. So,
and the good thing about it is I don't have to go.
Exactly, he's going to play with his friends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my camera along. I'm sure they'll let me film, but don't worry, I'll check. They'd be mad if they don't. And I'll tell them so if they say no. I'll take my video along and I'll video some of the event so that you can see all the new products. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to purchase them yet. I think they're out the same week, so maybe I can buy them. I've put some money aside to buy them. But even if I can't, you will be able to see them because I'm going to take you round and I'm going to video all the different products that are there and swatch them if I can. So my video review it Tuesday will be on Wednesday next week. You knew I was playing with you, didn't you? You did. Okay, so really exciting, hey? So with that now, I will get on and let's do a get ready with me. And Jack's showing you his new...
I'm trying to wave in it.
I don't want to call it a toy because he's too old for toys. Tell them what it is.
Black Panther glove.
It's a new Black Panther glove that he got out of his birthday money. Okay, so let's get started. So I've taken on board some of you, one of you anyway, was saying this morning about how you like light foundations. I'm just going to take my glasses off from around my neck. So next Friday I'm going to do a light foundation. But today I'm going to use a light one too. Not one I'm going to do on Friday because you know I like to keep it a surprise. But today I'm going to be putting it on with a damp beauty blender because I did like the way it looked when I put on that foundation yesterday with a damp beauty blender. I'm going to be using the luminous foundation by Becca. And you know that I've been mixing this with my foundations recently to get the right shade, but I think I can just about get away with wearing it on its own at the moment. So while I can, I might as well use it. So that's why I'm using that today. And it came in a set from QVC with the backlight priming filter. So I thought I'll use that. And I will do a review of this later on in the month. So this is the backlight priming filter. It's got a slight glow to it. It does look beautiful on the skin, and we like a bit of a glow. See that? So So I haven't done my forehead yet, quite deliberately, so that you can see that. And I'll do my forehead. So let's have a little bit of a chat, shall we? I'm just going to come right back. I just got to check something. Okay, let's go in with this foundation. I'll give it a good shake. What I was checking is, you know me, I'm really bad at remembering names, but I never forget a conversation with any of you guys. And when you're asking questions, I remember things like that. I'm just really bad at remembering names. So I've just wanted to check who it was. But one of you called Maureen, hi Maureen, was talking about your mum and how you had great laughs with them. And it just sort of reminded me of a few giggles that I had with my mum. So one of the times, I thought I'd tell you about it. So one of the times is we went on holiday together, which we used to do quite a lot actually, when I was younger, before I met my partner and before I had Jack, and which was quite a long time actually. I was single for quite a long time, so I must have been 24. And we went on holiday to Cornwall. And it was really funny because I decided not to drive and to have a break from driving. My mum didn't drive, but it is a long drive to Cornwall from well, my mum lived in Essex, so it's just outside London. It's quite a long way. It's about sort of 7-8 hour drive. And so we decided to get a coach, and it was one of these, turned out to be one of these sort of coach trips that is organised for very elderly people. And my mum and I had quite a similar sense of humour, sort of a bit of a wicked sense of humour. Not poking fun at people, not really, but if something, we just had a wicked sense of humour. We were both, I'd like to think we were both kind, but not cruel, but we had a wicked sense of humour, if you know what I mean. So we got on this coach and we looked around, and I heard my mum under her breath saying, blimey, this lot are even too old for me. So that was it. We were off. Then we arrived at the hotel, and there was this woman in the toilets rinsing out her false teeth. So we were off again. And then we'd organised some excursions, and one of them was it said it was a historic train ride. And so we arrived there sort of thinking it was going to be like, well, it said it was a steam train ride, but we didn't realise it was a kind of miniature steam train, sort of almost like a toy one on this track. And we arrived there, and we got into, everybody had their own little carriages, because they were tiny little carriages. And some of you in America probably won't get this, but there was a programme on for children at the time called Thomas the Tank Engine. And it was actually narrated by Ringo Starr, who was in the Beatles. I'm sure you know that. And so Mum used to watch it a lot, because she used to say, because my mum was from that neck of the woods, not Liverpool, but the Wirral, and she used to say he's putting on his posh Wirral accent for the voiceover. And we got into this compartment on our own, but there were lots of other people in the neighbourhood, and they were all taking it really, really seriously. Now, you know, when everybody else is taking something really seriously and you think it's funny, it becomes even funnier. And that's what it was like. And then this station guard came out, and he was quite large. And I said, oh, look, it's the Fat Controller. Now, this is a character in Thomas the Tank Engine called the Fat Controller. I would never be... It sounds like I'm being cruel, but you just got to see the character. He had a bit... He wasn't really big, but he just had a bit of a beer belly. And yeah, and so I said, oh, look, it's the fat controller. And that was it. Me and my mum started laughing and laughing and laughing. And we couldn't stop. And everybody else looked really puzzled. They weren't annoyed with us, but they were sort of really puzzled about what we were laughing about. And so every time we kind of calmed down, someone would say, are you okay? And then we'd start again. And we were literally like, I was sort of, you could hear me screaming, oh, I'm going to wet myself from this compartment. And my mum going, oh, don't. And she's coughing and spluttering. And that every bit of this journey we likened to Thomas the Tank Engine. And they were all being really serious. And it was really fun. It was like the two rebels on this train that... And it was stuff like that where, you know, I really, really miss having my mum about. And, yeah, so that was that. Now, I'm just going to get my concealer because I will need a bit of concealer with this one today. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to use the Tarte Shape Tape concealer. I like to change things around, as you will know. And you can kind of use this a bit as a highlighter as well. You can do that with any concealer, really, that's lighter than yours. Don't be fooled by marketing that you can't. So another time, now this was quite near the mark, but again, I don't think we were being cruel. It was just one of those times when it was so shocking that it makes you want to laugh. You know, when you see something that's so shocking that you just want to laugh. And I was in hospital, and I've been going through some tests, and they were under anaesthetic. Yeah, not under anaesthetic, but one of them was quite traumatic, very traumatic actually, and has made me quite fearful of lumbar punctures ever since. And I had been sedated afterwards, and I'd fallen asleep in my hospital bed, and I woke up to the sound of these two elderly women singing "The Lord's My Shepherd," and they were crying. And I was 8 years old, and I immediately thought, oh no, am I dying? You know, these two ladies are standing there crying, singing "The Lord's My Shepherd," and maybe someone's not telling me something. Just hold on a minute, I've just got to tell Jack something. Okay, I'm going to put some under eye setting powder on. Now, I was following, I haven't forgotten, I need to finish the story. I was following a Nikki Tutorials video just for fun last week. And in it, she put her under eye setting powder on with a damp beauty blender. And she kind of baked it. And I thought, I'm just going to follow her and do it exactly. And actually, putting it on with a damp beauty blender didn't look too bad, so I'm going to do that today. I thought it was really something that the youngsters would do. I wouldn't leave it on and bake it. That's the difference. But it actually worked quite nicely, so I thought I would do that today. See what you think. So, I need to get my powder and start to get my other things before I carry on with this story. Otherwise, I'm going to keep interrupting it. So just bear with me a second. And I'm just going to, where I put that lighter concealer, I'm just going to dot that under eye setting powder there as well. So I'm going to get my powder, and I'm going to get an eyeshadow palette, and then I can tell you the rest of the story. Okay, I couldn't decide what I knew I wanted to use a Charlotte Tilbury eye palette today, and I couldn't decide which one. So I just put my hand in and picked one out, and I picked out the Rebel, which is her green eyeshadow palette. Now this is not, doesn't stick very easily, the green, so the pop shade. So I thought I'd use as a base Golden Quartz, which is a sort of greeny shade, as a base, and then it will help it stick. And I'm going to be using it as my face powder just down the centre. I'm going to be using this today because I like to feature some drugstore products that are really good as well. And this is really good. It's called the NYX Finishing Powder, and it's got a very slight yellow tinge to it. And I don't know if you can actually detect that, but it's not white. And the yellow tinge just kind of, well, see what you think. I'm just going to put that on with this brush here. So, and then I will get on with doing the eyeshadow. So there I am. I've just woken up from this thing, and these women are crying and singing "The Lord's My Shepherd" at the same time. And I'm thinking, somebody's not told me that I'm dying. And I was a bit shocked. And then I looked round, and my mum is sitting there by the bed. And there were two things that made me realise instantaneously that these women had got hold of the wrong end of the stick, and I wasn't dying, and I was reassured by my mum. The first thing is that my mum was knitting, and I thought, if I was dying, she wouldn't be knitting. She'd be looking, you know, she just wouldn't be knitting. I just couldn't imagine my mum sitting there knitting while I'm at death's door. So that was the first clue. The second clue, in fact there were three clues. The second clue was just, my mum looked at me immediately, and in one look she managed to reassure me. And I can see the look now, but the look was, if the look could have said, "Don't worry, you're not dying. These women have got that hold of the wrong end of the stick and they're mad," she summed that up in a look. And I can see the look now. She sort of went, I can't do the look. It was just, I knew it immediately. And then there was a third thing, and the third thing was the thing that really made me want to laugh. So imagine my mum sitting there with her knitting needles like this, and she's knitting away. And as she was knitting, you could see she was trying really hard to concentrate on knitting, but this was making her want to laugh. And her shoulders were going, and you could see her shoulders were going, and she was trying not to laugh. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to laugh now. And I can't laugh at these women because, in fairness, they were, you know, they were concerned volunteers coming round. They wanted the best for me, and there's no way that I'd be critical of them for that. You know, I love them for that. But they'd obviously got hold of the wrong end of the stick and thought I was dying. And that's what was making me want to giggle. And I thought, I cannot giggle, because if I laugh at them, that would be terrible. You know, I'd never forgive myself for that. Because they were, in good faith, they were, you know, singing for me and praying for me. And that was lovely. So I thought, I cannot be seen to laugh at them. So I thought, what am I going to do? My mum was knitting. I'm just going to have to shut my eyes and pretend that I've fallen asleep again. And that's what I did. And my poor mum was trying so hard not to laugh. And then they were saying things like suffer little children to come unto me. And the thing was, you might say, well, why didn't you just say something to them? But it is very difficult in that situation to say, why are you kind of almost giving me the last rites? I'm not dying. It was very, very tricky situation. Anyway, eventually they went, and my mum and I were sort of laughing till we cried. Jack, could you keep the noise down to that, please?
Okay.
And so that's a colour chameleon that I've just used as a base. And now I'm just going to go in. I'm not going to use the prime shade because I've used this to prime my eyelids. I'm going to go in with the enhanced shade. Now the enhanced shade is still pretty bright. I'm not going to do too much of this because it's the daytime. But I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put the enhanced shade on the outside, and then I'll put the prime shade on the inside, because that colour chameleon will give it a kind of a bit of a green undertone to it. That will work. And then possibly do a bit of lining with the darker one. So the next day I was actually leaving to go home, and I think what had happened was that these women had arrived on the ward. They were from some local church, and they had kind of asked if they could come round and pray and sing for the people that were in hospital. And the nurses there probably couldn't share that much clinical information, but I had had some tests, and they probably asked what the tests were for, and probably being generic, I'm just guessing now, they said, well, it can test for all sorts of things, such as tumours, this, that and the other. And in that list was something that was potentially quite alarming to them. And I mean, I was being tested basically because I had a tethered cord, and in my growth spurt it was getting pulled. So potentially it was quite serious, but not life-threatening. It was more mobility threatening than life threatening, and that's a big deal, but it wasn't. I was about to die. And I think that they probably got hold of the wrong end of the stick. And it was quite alarming to me to wake up and hear this, because I did immediately associate the Lord is my shepherd and suffer little children to come unto me as I'm dying. So the laughter was also a bit of relief at finding out that actually, no, my mum was still knitting and she was trying not to giggle, and that was the other part of the laughter, was relief. But I was leaving the next day and we bumped into these women, and they looked at me and they looked at one another because I was going home, and again we just didn't know what to say to them. It was just, yeah. So it was Maureen's comments about how she laughs with her mum that made me think of those two things. Because also the thing is, in hospital, you know, with a lot of traumatic, it was very traumatic what I'd been through. To have something to laugh about like that is the things that I remember, as well as the trauma, which is good. And I think that's what my mum gave me, was that balance, so that it wasn't, you're always going to remember the traumatic stuff. But thankfully I've also got some happy, funny memories to remember by, and that was one of them. That kind of laughter in adversity, that, yeah, you just remember. So I'm now going to just put, I did put a little bit of the smoke shade into the into the corner as well. I'm just playing a little bit. And then I'm just going to dab this on. In fact, I'm going to do this with my fingers. I just dab this on the inner corner. The prime shade. Like so. So it's darker on the outside. And because I've got that colour chameleon underneath, it's not going to look completely white. It's going to look, got quite a sort of greenish hue to it. Do you see that? And that's how to sort of calm it down for the day. I don't want it to be too. And then I'll put some up here as well. Because this prime shade is quite light. So you can use it very much as a highlighter. And I'll put a little bit in there. And in there. And I think I'll also put, making sure this brush is clean, a little bit underneath, not too much. I find if I let this go too far down, it accentuates this sort of, my saggy bits. Alright, and just so that you can see the pop shade, I'm going to, the more that you rub this, the more it warms up and the more it will come. But I'm just going to dot a bit of that in the centre. Not across. Now, in the tutorial that Charlotte does, she puts this on the whole eyelid. But I just think that's a bit too much for the day. And you'll see, at first, even though it comes off on the finger, it just doesn't tend to want to transfer very easily. Oh, mind you, it's not done too badly. But as you go to the second eye, it comes off a lot easier. Like so. Yeah, I like that. And I think that Barbarella Brown will go very nicely with that, which I will get next. The Rebel set actually comes with Bedroom Black, but I find this softer. Okay, so Barbarella Brown, which I'm going to put along the lash line, and I'm going to tight line above and below with it, because I think it looks really nice with the Rebel. And then I'll just smudge that with my fingers. Bless you. I'm just thinking about what else to talk about. I've got on my to watch later, Pixie Woo has done quite a few first impressions of new products that are out. So this one is Nikki, because obviously they're sisters. And I do love Pixie Woo. You know, they both really good makeup artists trained at MAC. And if you haven't watched them yet, I definitely recommend them. They don't do what everyone, you know, sometimes, and I'm probably guilty of this as well. I don't want to be negative about people, because I really think everybody that does YouTube videos, I want to be kind to them, because I know how much work goes into it. But I think sometimes when I look at some eyeshadow tutorials, they all end up being quite similar in terms of what they do. A lot of them start with, oh, I'm going to do the transition shade first, and then I'm going to do, and I've done that with myself, you know. And there are, you know, when I'm doing looks, I mean, I tried to change it up a little bit today, but it's very easy to get into the habit of just doing one type of eyeshadow. And what I like about Pixie Woo, both Sam and Nikki, is that they do a variety of different looks and they shake it up. I like Nikki's more than Sam's for myself, because Sam seems to like doing sort of quite messy, grungy looks, which they're just not me. I think also because I have to wear my medical shoes and my scruffy old compression socks, and I like to try and look quite smart above the waist. I suppose if I tried it, it would look like maybe it'd bring the look together a bit, but it's just the way I am. I've always been like that. I've not been a kind of grungy person in terms of, you know, apart from when I was a teenager and I might have gone through a phase for about 2 minutes. But Nikki seems to do less grunge and sort of more tidy looks. Don't get me wrong with Sam, when she does them, they look absolutely gorgeous on her. And she really pulls it off, and they are gorgeous, and I love them on her. And I do think that, well, they're both beautiful. I think Sam's got the bone structure that could pull anything off, quite frankly. She just, and her eyes are just stunning. You know, she puts black eyeshadow all over her eyes and she looks at you and it's just whoosh, you know. Yeah, really good, but definitely worth a view. Be interested to know, if you watch them, who you prefer out the two. I like them both, but as I said, I would copy more of Nikki's looks, and I might do a follow Nikki tutorial in the coming weeks. I'm just going to get my upward lash, and I'll do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to put some Filmstar Bronze and Glow on. I'm going to follow the Rebel look as it is. I finally completed the set, so I've got all the looks in Charlotte Tilbury's collection, like everything in the looks. The one thing I didn't have, which was one of the lip blusters, I saw that it was kind of sold out everywhere, and I started to panic because I thought, she's not going to bring that back. And I've got all of them except that one, and I wanted to collect them all. I know I'm mad, but I did. And then so I searched high and low, and I found it on House of Fraser website, and it said only one left, and as I bought it, it said sold out. So I really think I got the last one in the country. So yeah, I'm going to show you that because it does look really lovely on, and it's one of the lip blusters that I haven't shown you. Okay, now with all Charlotte Tilbury's looks, she always has in the look, she has a lip cheat, which is the lip liner, and then she normally has the kissing lipstick and then the lip bluster. So originally in the Rebel look, it was Love Bite, which is a very bright red. Iconic Nude, I think even this wasn't Iconic Nude, I think it was Pillow Talk. And then she had Hall of Fame lip luster. But all of a sudden in the kit, as it's changed, and she's got the Matte Revolution in Very Victoria, which actually does go really nicely with this, because it's quite bold to have green on the eyes and then to have a bright red lip. It's lovely, but I think this sort of is a little bit more conservative. So I'm going to use Very Victoria, which is now, if you buy the Rebel kit, this is in the Rebel kit, and Iconic Nude and Hall of Fame. Now, what was I going to say? Yes, Very Victoria. Must tell you about Very Victoria. Now, I don't know whether this might be hype, but apparently this is her bestseller at the moment, is Very Victoria. And what I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but just from reading stuff, is that this has become her bestseller because Meghan Markle wears Very Victoria, and that it is said that when they announced the engagement and they did those initial photographs out in the gardens of, where was it? Was it Kensington Palace? I can't remember. It's one of the palaces. That Meghan was wearing Very Victoria. Don't know how true that is, but I did look and it did look like Very Victoria. So apparently everyone has gone nuts for Very Victoria now. I liked it a long time ago, before Meghan Markle, or before I knew of Meghan Markle, I should say. I'm just going to put this iconic nude. I might not paint this over my entire lip because it's a bit fair for me, but it will actually act as a very good lip liner and stop my lipstick feathering. Just wanted to say the reason I like Very Victoria is it's the closest to my natural lip colour. If you're very fair, this is a really good one to fill in your lips. I'll show you the colour. So let me just show you that on my hand. That is iconic nude. It just washes me out a bit if I fill in my lips with it. But it's a lovely shade. And then I'm going to go in. Now, let me just show you Hall of Fame. The last in my collection. So I now have all of them. And it's a sort of... got slight pink to it. It's almost like a clear gloss, but it's got pink to it. Now, if you just... I'm going to show you this and then I'll wipe it off. If you just put this on its own, it just brings out the pinkness in your lips. It's lovely. Show you. See? It's a really nice one to wear on its own. I'm just going to put, I tell you what, I can put Very Victoria over the top. It's the same as putting it underneath. So here is Very Victoria. Very Victoria is a matte revolution, but obviously I've got lip luster on, so it's going to look shiny. And I think this, with the lip luster combined together, looks very similar to Confession. Now, I was about to say which you'll have seen, but you haven't seen it. So that is going to get me to the next thing that I wanted to tell you, which is I have done a video. Jack, could you just pass me a tissue there so I don't bend down off camera? Thank you. Breakfast? You, yeah, okay.
I just realised I could do that.
He's had breakfast, by the way. This is the afternoon. Now, yeah. I've lost the thread of what I was saying now.
Because I was saying...
This looks very similar to Confession. I have done a video which I filmed earlier in the week, and I'm going to upload it tomorrow. Because I was trying to space them about so you don't get sick of me. Charlotte has now bought out 3 lipsticks. They're not new, but before you could only buy them in a set. So they're 3 lipsticks that used to be available long before I knew anything about Charlotte Tilbury, when she first brought out her makeup line. And they're called Confession, Miss Kensington and Between the Sheets. And they then disappeared. They were no longer available. And I think there was a lot of call to bring back Confession. And actually a lot of people like Between the Sheets as well, I think. And so she bought them out at Christmas in a set. But you had to buy all 3 of them in the set. and I got that set. But she has just released them individually, and Confession is beautiful, and this looks very similar when you put Very Victoria and this lip luster over the top. Hall of Fame. So you'll see that video tomorrow and you'll see what I mean. I might actually do a picture of me. Jack, calm down. I'll do a picture of me wearing this, and then I'll do a picture of me wearing Confession at the end of this video, okay? And I better finish off this look pretty quickly, or we're going to gradually descend into more and more silliness, I suspect. Right, I'm just going to get my blush brush. I'll be right. Oh, it's right in front of me. There you go. See, he's putting me off. Never work with children and animals. You know what they say. So I'm now going to use First Love blusher, which I dropped one day and it is nearly broken. I just about have to be really delicate with it. And as you know, this was in my top 10. I love this blusher. So, because it just gives such a lovely subtle colour without looking too overly made up. I try and avoid doing this because there's something about it that personally irritates me when I watch other people. You know, when they've got these palettes and they go, this, I don't know what it is. It's obviously something very unconscious in me, but it really winds me up. So I try not to do it. You'll see I either shake the brush or I blow the brush, anything to avoid going. Please someone explain why it irritates me. I have no idea. There's nothing wrong with doing it. It's just, it just grates on me for some reason. Anyway, I'll have to hypnotise myself and work out what it is going on in my unconscious. Okay, so there is the finished look. Now, before I go, I'm going to put a bit of the hourglass on. Why not? And I hope this video isn't 6 hours long when I've finished. All right, let me just get the hourglass and we'll see how this takes. He's putting me off again. Never mind, you know what I mean. Okay, so let's go in with these 3 shades. So I'm going to go in with, what do they call it? Dim light. Dim light all over the face. But centering more on the centre of the face. And I think this is the thing. I think it's more of a finishing than a setting powder. And I have promised to explain the difference. I'm going to do a video about foundations, picking shades, setting, finishing powder and all that, because I have had a request. But I'm not going to do that today because it will be 3 hours long, the video. So I've focused that more on the centre there. Now you see where I had this and it's not quite blended. It's probably more that side. This is what I was talking about. If I go in with this setting brush and just do this, it just blends it out. I went at the corner there where it wasn't quite blended in properly. It just blends it out. It's a really good use for this. Just if you've got any lines, I might clean that up in a minute because it's gone over the line a bit. So basically you want to aim to draw a line between the bottom of your eye to where the brow is and not go any further. Otherwise it will make you look a bit sad. See, if I do that, I look a bit sad. So if you've got eyeshadow going down like that, you're going to look a bit sad. So you basically want to aim for your eyeshadow to stop there, and that will give you a lifting effect. So I will adjust that before I do the final picture. Okay, so getting back to this, so then I'm going to go in with Radiant Light, and I'm going to put that on the corners. I'm just thinking which brush to use. I think I'm going to use the blush brush, Charlotte's blush brush, because it's a little bit more densely packed, and I'm going to put that over Charlotte's Bronze and Glow, because I think because I'm a bit darker skinned, I perhaps need a more densely packed brush for it to show at all on me. Even though it's subtle, I think it was just this brush that I was using really disperses it quite finely. So, and then I'll go in with the setting brush and do around the side of my nose, like so. And then I will take incandescent light, take it down the centre of my face, my chin, here, over the top of Charlotte's highlighter, a little dab here, here, I'll put a little dab over the top. It does make it pop. I can see how it enhances what you've done. And then a little bit. Let me do that with my fingers. I like that on the Cupid's bow, because otherwise if you get a highlighter that's too in your face, it looks like you've had a runny nose more than a highlighted upper lip. And then I'll just go over what I did with Charlotte's, and it blurs it out so that it looks a little bit more natural. This is really growing on me, this palette now. I can see the point of it, and I know I can see that I'm going to be hooked. Okay, so that, and just do a final sweep over the entire face with dim light. And that's it. I will do my brows off camera and then I'll take a photo. So tomorrow, catch me tomorrow for a video that I did last week, which is basically swatching the 3 lipsticks that were in the lip archive that are now available to buy separately. And then I will see you on Wednesday after my trip. If any of you want to follow me on Instagram, I will try and do a live feed from Charlotte's shop. If not, you'll have to wait till Wednesday, and then I will put it in the video on Wednesday. So see you soon. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye bye.